Yeah, so the team was out today at a restaurant in downtown Kharkiv. Actually planning to leave town. Like after we finished our meal, we were like going to leave town. We had to drop off some tourniquets for a military unit that was going to meet us there, and then we are going to get out of town. As we were eating, we started to hear incoming artillery fire, and it started to sound like it was getting closer. The Russians use a technique called bracketing, and they were walking the fire in from both sides. And we realized what was going on and decided that we had to send a team out to pick up one of our other teammates that had stayed downtown in a different location. So the rest of us went inside to pay and prep for their arrival. And we go inside to pay, and it took like 20 minutes, or 15 or 20 minutes, because there was issues with the card terminal. And all at once, as we're standing inside there, literally 5 seconds after, the guy that owns the bar was like, "Okay, it worked." All of the windows shattered out, the ground shook, and we just all like ran up against the bar. And then another volley hit, and we all ran into this corner by the backside of the bar. So I realized what was going on, and I jumped over the bar and I started grabbing people and dragging them behind the bar to get away from whatever might be coming. And we all huddled there for a minute, and after I don't know, a minute or two, I heard Drew's voice from inside the bar, and he's just yelling, "Chris, Chris!" And I realized it was him, and I popped up. I was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "We're here, we're all fine." And he goes, "There's a civilian out here that needs triage now." And I popped my head up, and actually, on a comical note, we both realized later we had the same thought, because when I jumped up, and I'm back in the very far back corner of the bar, there's a line of beers sitting on the counter. We both were like, "Oh shit, better not spill the beer." I literally paused for a second and positioned myself and vaulted over the counter, missing the beers, thankfully. And the rest of my team sprinted out behind me, and we all ran out into the open field. That was this kind of sidewalk square kind of thing out in front of where this bar was. And the scene was just complete carnage. Debris everywhere. There was a building on fire that was a coffee shop. The restaurant literally directly next door to us had taken a direct hit, which is probably what blew out our windows, and it was just shattered. I mean, it was toothpicks. And we ran out, and I realized there was one person who had been nearest the blast who was just shredded. His foot on his right foot was dangling by basically strings, and his right arm was completely gone. He had taken a hit to basically the pelvic region, but on his side, thankfully, in a location that he didn't actually have any vital organs hit. But it was really obviously clear to us that he was in extremely critical condition and needed to be racked to incredibly fast. So we almost started to work on him, and I realized I was like, we're right in the middle of the blast zone. We need to get the fuck away from this spot. So I said, we need to move him now. We need to get out. We need to get away from here. And we all picked him up and carried him over by a wall onto some grass, actually. And we set him down, and literally like 5 seconds later, right in the middle of the road where we had just been, another shell hit. And we all dove down underneath this tree covering this guy. And when the shelling stopped, we got to work. Drew and I were primarily handling the wound, and the rest of our team was providing support, collecting supplies. We luckily had a box of like 40 IFAKs in the back of the van that were meant to be donated to a military unit out here that we started to just shred. So we burned all of our personal IFAKs and like 5 IFAKs from this box. And while I was working on this, unbeknownst to me, the rest of our team was actually out triaging other people who had been injured in the blast, and managed to save the lives of at least 2 other people. by tourniqueting wounds that were from anything from a part of a piece of shrapnel had gone through and taken out most of one lady's calf, and another lady who had a piece of shrapnel take out most of her thigh, and somebody with a head wound. So they were at work triaging other patients while Drew and I and a couple. Honestly, it's such a fog. I can't even remember who was around me. Were working on this one guy, and calling out for gauze, calling out for bleed stop powder and hemostat. I mean, the guy needed everything. We used, I don't know, probably 4 tourniquets on him, and a couple of packets of bleed stop hemostatic powder, a shitload of gauze, and a couple of Israeli bandages to keep in place all of the gauze packing that we'd put inside this man's torso cavity. And in order to get the tourniquet onto the man's leg, I had to cut off the remainder of his foot with a knife that was dangling by just shreds of skin and muscle and tendon. And so we cut through all the rest of that and got the foot away. And then I had to put on 2 tourniquets because the first one broke. And once the bleeding stopped on that side, I got to work cutting off his clothes and making sure that there weren't any other external wounds. And we found that his right abdominal side near his hip bone had been hit by shrapnel pretty heavily, and you could actually stick your fingers through underneath the layer of skin and muscle from his front to his back. And so we started packing that. We got some bleed stop powder to staunch the bleeding, and then packed some gauze into the wound, and then got an Israeli bandage around his body to keep everything in place. And Drew was working overtime on his right arm to keep the bleeding stopped. And Andrew was slapping the man in the face and talking to him to keep him coherent and awake so that he wouldn't pass out. And then his brother was calling on his phone, so he talked to the man's brother on the phone for a few minutes. And then at some point, the paramedics showed up. And we were in such focus, actually, we didn't even realize that there was a news crew that literally showed up. I don't even know when, but they were filming the majority of what we were doing. And we got paramedics on scene, and the guy was still awake. I mean, he was fading. The guy was gray. I've never seen somebody that color before, but he was gray. And the paramedics showed up, and they picked him up, and we cleaned up our mess and got our stuff out of their way to let them work on the guy. And once they were there, we left, and we sprinted over to our vans, and we're piling in, getting ready to go. And our vans had taken quite a bit of shrapnel, actually. And so we jump into the first van, the orange one, and I try to turn it on, and literally nothing happens when I turn the key. And we still don't know exactly what's wrong with it, really hoping that it's workable once the military goes to retrieve it. And we get into the second van. So I literally said, I tried it like 3 times. And they're like, "Where is it working?" I was like, "No, it's fucked. We got to go." And I'm sitting on broken glass, and there's like, rounds of pieces of shrapnel that have gone through pretty much every single window in the car. And so we literally, I just jump in through the sliding door in the back, and I start throwing bags out of our personal items and our gear and body armor and everything else. Yet, open up the back hatch and do the same. And these guys are throwing it into the back of the van. And this is a van with 5 seats, and we piled 7 of us in there. And then we get ready to go. And the military guys we were with were in the smaller car, and it was fucked. Took a piece of shrapnel straight through the radiator, and actually knocked out, I think, the starter and something else to do with the engine. So we backed up to them and jumped out and got a few tire straps and ratcheted up to their car, and they all piled inside, and we towed them off. And realized that we had also taken a piece of shrapnel through our radiator, and our van was quickly overheating. And luckily, we were able to. One of the military guys was in our van, and he got us directions way outside of town to a mechanic where we dropped our van off at and hung out for a while. and just, man, the level of decompression was insane. Like when we all got to that place, got inside, and I was absolutely drenched in blood. My pants were soaked. Um, my hands were caked and covered because of the combination of blood and bleed stop powder and everything that was on them. And when we all got inside this shop and sat down, I think I smoked a half a pack or three-quarters of a pack of cigarettes in like 20 minutes. Um, we all assessed ourselves and kind of just sat there and decompressed. And man, the fatigue that fell over all of us instantaneously was just crazy. We all had headaches, probably partially from the blast wave, probably partially from just the shock and the adrenaline, pure adrenaline rush. But we decompressed and waited for somebody to show up, and they took us to an apartment way outside of town, and we're safe here, drinking beer and listening to music and talking about the event and just kind of decompressing and doing guy stuff and um, making plans for tomorrow. I mean, that's all you can do here. We've got a couple of sayings in this crew, and two of them are, we make it kind of a running joke, but it's how we kind of get through the day when shit goes bad. One of us will ask Drew how he's doing, and he goes, "Man, I'm just trying to help Ukraine." But it's because it's kind of partially our fucking motto. And the second one, which we're gonna get on bumper stickers and T-shirts and everything, because it's kind of an inside joke. But the saying is, "Not dead yet, still got both my mirrors. We're gonna do it again tomorrow."
Wow.
And man, that should just tell you everything you need to know about this crew, man. These
So,
guys are the most solid people that I know.
so Chris, let me ask you a question. Are you
Yeah,
guys okay? Is everybody okay? Did nobody get hurt from the team, the crew?
nobody got hurt. We've all got headaches right now, and I think it's mostly just shock and coming down off of the adrenaline and the fatigue and all that. But I mean, a couple of our guys were out by our vans when those rounds went off, and I mean, I shit you not, being behind the van saved their lives. But they were close enough, that there's probably a minor concussion situation potentially, and some of them, I mean, I don't even know in myself, like, you don't have time to react and trying to remember like what it felt like. I mean, I know I felt the ground shaking and the windows shatter out, and there was dust and smoke and stuff because the building next to us was on fire. And but we're all, relatively speaking, like, none of us was hit by anything. None of us even had a scratch on our bodies, thankfully. But it just it's a lot to process, and the things that we saw today, let alone the experience of being shelled, are pretty freaking difficult. So, but this crew, we've grown really close together as individuals, and one of the things that I really appreciate most is just this sense of like vulnerability, to be able to talk about these things and be really, really real with each other. And I think that that's seriously key: A, to everybody's mental stability, and B, to just maintaining group cohesion. And I mean, I would die and kill for these guys. Every single one of us, I think, at this point would. So,
Is there anything you would like to share to the people that would listen to this recording? Is there anything you would like to share to them?
you know, just that I think that it's highly unfortunate that there's a I think the majority of people that will listen to this are indeed intently spending time paying attention to this issue and this war and the people in it. But anybody that has any doubts, man, like, we're here living this right now, and it is 1,000% real. I mean, as I'm talking here, I'm hearing rounds outside my window. Um, I went outside to smoke, and there was just literally thunder And when you hear artillery out here, generally speaking, during the daytime, it's a couple volleys every few minutes or something like that, but it's nothing crazy. It's constant right now. This is one of the heaviest nights of bombardment in a while in Kharkiv. And just understand that this is a real war out here. It's a real situation. Real people are dying, and uh, it deserves a lot more attention, I think, than it's currently getting in Western news. So share this stuff, man. Share everybody's stories. Get this stuff out here and make the world wake up. Um, I have to shameless plug my group, of course. Renegade Relief Runners. Our vans are toast right now, and they're in the shop. And we burned all of our IFAC and trauma gear, saving people today. And if anybody wants to donate anything to us to try to replace all of our gear and help us fix our vans, I mean, that would be phenomenal. But we're all out here burning our own cash and dumping every single penny that we receive into taking the need exactly where it needs to go. And I think this is just case in point that what we're doing out here is incredibly necessary. So, um, you know, support my team if you can. That's all I ask, and support other small teams. These guys are out here risking their lives every day. So,
Thank you. Well, um, I cannot speak for everybody, but I think that everybody does share the same thoughts. We all hope that you guys stay safe. Make sure you get enough rest. It's this is this has to be traumatizing for you all. I hope you have a good place to rest, and yeah, please stay in contact. And yeah, God be with you.
hey, thank you, my friend. Yeah, we definitely will. We definitely will. I appreciate you.
Okay, I wish you good luck, and we'll talk soon.
All right. You too, buddy.
Thanks, man.